Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. I see some people scampering in. So, hello and welcome to the Society of Antiquaries. My name is Natasha McEnroe and I'm the General Secretary of the Society. It's lovely to see you all here today, and I haven't even had a proper look at the tables yet today, but I'm very much looking forward to that. It looks like a really, really super and inspiring display. The Society was founded in 1707, and it was set up specifically by people with a passion to learning about the past through objects. And for us at the Society, for all of our fellows, our researchers, people who come to our events, this is something that unites all of us, which is the material past. And of course, if there's one thing that the material past has in common, is that it's all been made by human hands. So everything that is in our rich collections here, everything that's a subject of academic research has been shaped by a maker, whether it's a Neolithic hand axe, some beautiful stained glass, some artwork, some textiles we have in the collection. All of these things have actually been created by people with a creative passion. And I think this gives us a natural affinity to makers of the present day. We, of course, have a concern of techniques dying out, and this is something we're really, really passionate about. So I suppose I just really wanted to say welcome to all of you. You're in your natural home if you're interested in art and material culture. Before I hand over to the organisers of this event, I'd just like to say a very quick word of housekeeping. We're not expecting a fire alarm today, so if it does go off, you won't miss it. If you follow somebody with one of the purple lanyards outside where you came in, and we assemble at the feet of Sir Joshua Reynolds in the middle of the courtyard. Finally, if you could just check that your mobile phones are switched off. People have been caught out by that in the past. And then without any further ado, I will hand over to Graham.
Morning, everybody. So, modern makers and antiquaries. Why modern makers and antiquaries? Well, on the Antiquaries website, there is a rather useful explanation which goes as follows. We are today part of the Antiquarian project. And I recommend visiting the Society's website to read the whole text of this. The essence of this statement is archaeologists, historians, anthropologists, and art historians all fall within the sphere of the Antiquarian project, unified by their curiosity in the human journey through time. And this interactive conference today is very much part of that project. In creating this event, we want, with you, in person or online, to do three things. First is to explore how the skills and abilities that may be thought of as past or dead or not to be found are alive. They are flourishing, and they are around us. The second thing is to see and experience how these skills are deployed and used today as part of our current journey through time and by our fabulous makers here. And the third thing is to understand how our research, how our study, and how our explanation of the past is so much better understood by learning from our makers here, our colleagues, as part of the Antiquarian project. Research and study into the past can be scientific, it can be document-based, it can be library-based. And of course, when items are dug up with archaeology, it is also partially object-based. Reconstructions, reimaginings, all of these are part of how we try to understand the past. But here today, we're celebrating how our world, our wonderful makers, are part of this world and help us to further understand the past by their making in our present now. So by conserving skills, insights, abilities, the intangible side of physical heritage is very much part of the Antiquarian project. Our makers are aware that they are bringing our shared pasts into vivid life today, for us, for the future, and for future study. And also for the Antiquarian project to continue beyond our time with those skills here. So in your next research project, in your field work, in your conservation projects, remember what you have seen and learned today by the people who make, because they are part of our project. So here we are. I hope you enjoy. Please engage. As one of our presenters was saying, this is a surprisingly intimate arena for you to be able to share and experience. So please do enjoy. Now, may I pass over to my colleague, Dr. Anouska Lester.
Thank you so much, Graham. Right, I won't keep us too much longer because I want to actually get into the business of the day. My name is Anouska. I run the lectures and the conferences here, which is a huge privilege. We have never done anything like this before, so I'm really excited that you are all here and that we are experimenting together in this space and seeing what happens when you bring fan performance and clay and amber bead polishing into a listed building, which has kept me awake for much of this week, and I am looking forward to actually sleeping properly tonight. I have a few more notes of housekeeping. Thank you to Natasha and Graham. Just to say, so portions of the day are going to be recorded and live streamed online. For everything that happens in the room to be heard online, it needs to be mic'd. So when we get to a Q&A portion, one of our wonderful assistants, Nikki, Yuqing, or Valentina, will hand around a microphone to you, so just wait for the microphone to get to you. In terms of areas that are accessible today, during the presentation, during the displays and demonstrations, you've got the whole of the ground floor, and then you can also go upstairs to the library. So the library will be open just between 11:30 and 1 p.m, and there is a display there. One of our artists in residence for our recent Magna Carta project will be there, and our staff will be there with displays as well for you to be able to talk to them. I want to start off the day by saying some massive thank yous to everyone for pulling this together. First and foremost to my colleagues, especially to our amazing collections team who do such incredible work on a daily basis. To my colleague Annabelle, who has stepped in for one day only as catering manager because we are short-staffed. So thank you for your patience. A note on that, when we get to the afternoon tea and coffee, that is now just an afternoon tea, and there will be biscuits. But if you would like coffee, I would recommend that you go to one of the places, a cafe on Piccadilly, or we've got the Royal Academy next door. So apologies, that is some very last minute staffing issues that we're not able to provide the coffee. If you have had your fill, if such a thing is possible, in the day of everything that is on display with our makers and artists here, we've also in the glass cases, we've got an in-progress exhibition which is curated by Chiara Betty, one of our staff members here, called Inked in Memory. You can also go next door but one to the Linnean Society. And so they're, just as you come into the courtyard, they're on the left-hand side. And they have an exhibition in their library called Wonder, which is some of their favorite treasures that don't often get brought out onto display. So we've got lots of time within the break. So if you would like to go get a breath of fresh air and take advantage of being next door to the Linnean Society and to the Royal Academy, please do explore. I would also like to thank our assistants, as I say, Nikki, Yuqing, and Valentina, who have come from all over the country to be here today, which is really exciting. And just to let you know that this is their first time in the building, so there are certain questions that they won't be able to answer. But if you find anyone with a pink or a burgundy lanyard, they should be able to answer some of your questions. We have a photographer here, Anna Rose McChesney, who we've worked with lots and is absolutely wonderful. I hope you have a chance to meet her. She will be taking photographs during the displays and demonstrations. If you'd rather your photograph is not taken, just come and find one of us and let us know. Finally, obviously, I want to say a massive thank you to all of our contributors for joining us on this journey, and to all of you for joining in person and online. I'm so excited about this day. I'm very excited to get to the end of the day and it having been a success. And just thank you for joining us in this experiment. And a huge thank you to Graham, whose idea this was. So over the course of the day, we're going to be hearing from various artists and makers whom we've invited to contribute. Some of these artists and makers come from two specific projects, which we'll be hearing more about, which are connected to the society. One is a project here, Magna Carta 1225, where we have two artists in residence over the summer. And another is a project at our sister site, Kelmscott Manor. So a lot of people aren't actually aware that William Morris was a fellow of the Society. And so we look after Kelmscott Manor. And we've been running for the last 3 years with Heritage Crafts. We have been running a Makers in Residence program. So we're really grateful to bring all of those things together today and celebrate them. We have two last-minute spontaneous additions to our day. The first is that I'm about to introduce you to a bonus artist. And the second is that Victoria, who is a fan maker and performer, you can see some of her fans here for you in person, is going to do a performance for us. So as part of the displays and demonstrations, if you come into this room at either 11:45 or 12:30, then you'll be able to see Victoria do a performance of Spanish flamenco dance. So without further ado, because Freddie is a last minute, but by no means least, obviously, addition to our program, we're only giving him 5 minutes, and it won't be enough for him to tell you about all of the wonderful work that he does. Freddie writes that he enjoys holding up a mirror to the world, sometimes quite literally. His work explores how the human drive for continual growth has impacted people and planet. He wants to bring people into the unfamiliar, sometimes implicating himself, or going to ridiculous lengths to shift viewers' perspectives. He's serious and funny, he says, trying to make complex ideas or issues simple to digest. As an artist that uses different media for different subjects, he comes at things in curious ways to be able to reach different audiences. He has made viral videos of world record-breaking toasters and digital fire exit signs that give hard-working pictograms a rest. He paints portraits of CEOs using pigment made of pollen, takes walks wearing a mirrored masks, and spends the first 3 months each year trying to become William Morris. See the connection. His work has been exhibited and collected internationally, as included in several permanent collections, including the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and he lives and works in London. So I am very glad to be able to introduce you to our first speaker, Freddie Yorner.
Hello, everyone. So this is me on the 24th of March, sorry. 2 years ago, 24th of March is William Morris's birthday. And every year for the last 7 years, I have started on the 1st of January to grow my beard and hair to attempt by his birthday 3 months later to look like William Morris. And during that time, I undertake a whole range of different creative projects inspired by him, and I call it my Morris Quarter. So this is a spontaneous thing. We were going to try and fly this wonderful red flag on the top of the building, but due to aforementioned staff issues, it's now rather lovely hanging in the stairwell, so you can go and have a look at it there. We thought you'd be looking at it from a long way away. That's why it's not ironed. Anyway, because it's spontaneous, I'm going to quickly just read something that I wrote for the Folkestone Triennial, or Triennale, if you're in Italy, about this particular project. So, red flags are a general warning that things are not okay. They're used to warn of poor water quality, flown by the military to signal the use of live ammunition, waved to stop car races after a big crash, or for union strikes. They are increasingly used in digital realm to flag inappropriate behavior online or language that hints at unfolding problems. My first interest in red flags came from thinking about William Morris, the 19th century arts and crafts movement polymath. Morris was more than his highly decorative floral patterns, of which I'm wearing today, which this is not actually designed by William Morris. This was Henry Durrell who designed this one for Morris & Co. He was a social reformer and he was the forerunner of the modern green movement, which Zach Polanski is now living in his shadow, or coming out of his shadow, perhaps in quite an emphatic way. Through his writing and activism, he presented an alternative vision of how we might live. Morris was a socialist and natural dye obsessive, and would often give talks with a madder-dyed red flag by his side. Now, I don't have the big one with me, but I have this tiny madder-dyed red flag, which I'm going to hold in the spirit of Morris. For Morris, working with natural and grown materials, such as the madder plant, was part of his interest in a more environmental and ethical way of working. It was a response against chemical and machine production. It's also, as I've discovered, and as many of the people who are going to speak to you today will share, a necessarily slower, meditative, less consistent way of working that involves constant attention and willingness to embrace variation and chance. So, long interested in the politics and production of design, I made my first red flag in 2024 with local communities in East London, using silk dyed with madder root from the ground. So the colour taken from the ground, from a local garden, way beyond Walthamstow marshes that you can see there in Leighton, where William Morris's mother would have lived while he was at Oxford. That flag was flown at the William Morris Gallery for his birthday, and I since this year made an enormous flag which flew on the London horizon at Somerset House for 3 months for their soil show that they just had at the beginning of the year. Each time I work with people to make a new flag, I ask those involved who are digging or dyeing or talking to declare their own red flags. And you may or may not have been given one of these little leaflets on your way in. I'd love you to share with me what your red flag is of the moment. We live in somewhat of a polycrisis, and through making and through craft, I think there's the space to contemplate and think about some of those things and advocate for change. What I've been doing with these, which I think is the interesting point for today, is taking this colour from the earth, working with communities, but then advocating for change. So I'm asking people and institutions whether they will hoist a red flag, and hopefully in due course we will hoist the red flag above this building one day. But this has been a journey through making to public participation, and I've just made a new work with these collection of red flags. This is a version that's going to be in the William Morris Society Journal in the new year, but there's a printed version at the Society in Hammersmith at the moment in Morris's old house, which declares all of these slightly horrible things that we will see as red flags. The work is called bunting, which is the collective noun for flags, but also hints at a slightly more frivolous, joyful note. But the things listed here are not particularly joyful. They're pressing, and they need makers and thinkers alike to turn their attention to them. So thank you for spontaneously fitting me in. I'll be about all day. I wore this so you could know I'm the William Morris guy. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Freddie. That's great. And the flag is just in the stairwell, draped prominently. So we now proceed into our first panel of speakers, and we have Hanny Newton and Victoria Ojoku. And first of all, our first speaker and presenter is Hanny Newton. Now, Hanny is an embroidery artist who has specialized in a contemporary approach to goldwork embroidery for the last decade, and is currently exploring the potential of straw and other plant fibers as a sustainable natural gold. For the past 3 years, she has been exploring and reimagining historical straw embroidery techniques, studying with the few remaining makers and accessing rare archives. She studied at the Royal School of Needlework and at Falmouth University, and Hanny was awarded the Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust and Broderers Company Scholarship to further her study of the historical craft of straw embroidery in 2023. And Hanny is also the winner of the inaugural Sanderson Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust Rising Star Craft Award for 2024. So, Hanny, if you care to come up to the podium.
Thank you. Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. So, as that lovely introduction stated, I've been an embroiderer for about a decade now, and I really fell in love with metal threads while I was at university. I just loved the way they capture the light and the shine of them. And I've worked for about a decade on my own work, teaching quite a lot, and also on larger commissions. And as much as I love metal threads, and they have their own incredible heritage and history to them, a lot of these are made in ways that have not really changed for hundreds of years. I always felt like there was just something missing from my practice, that deeper why, that deeper kind of connection to my materials. This is, one last metal thread picture. This is a Michelin restaurant that I embroidered all 4 walls using metal copper thread. So within that, still really pushing and exploring where we can take these amazing traditional techniques. But I always felt like, what is the why behind the reason I'm using these threads? And really, where do they come from? Which is actually quite hard to find out when you start asking questions. What's the origin of this metal? And what's the journey? Where has this been? And then 3 years ago, in a room not unlike this, actually, which is a lovely full circle moment, I was at the Heritage Crafts conference, and somebody handed me a piece of straw thread, and it completely blew my mind. And I sat during a conference very much like this, holding that thread in my hand, and there should be some going around the room, I hope. And it's a 2-ply thread. It's made from rye straw. And as you look at it, if you just compare the 2 ends, if you put them together and notice the way that it changes color and it changes thickness as it travels along the thread. I had no idea exactly what it was or where it come from, but I just had this feeling that this was what I'd been waiting for. So I went away and found out everything I could, and it's taken me on multiple rabbit holes and so many different journeys. And I never expected from this one thread that there were so many different possibilities and different histories and way it's been used. So I found that there is a history of straw embroidery going back quite far. So this is from the 1600s. It's an image robe, which would have been used to clothe a small statue, probably during harvest time. We see the earliest pieces. There is a kind of symbolic link within usually a religious context. I had an absolute dream trip a couple of weeks ago, a pilgrimage for me really, to a church in France where there are 3 of these large altar frontals that were made by, we think, about 50 nuns in the 1600s. And these are made from wheat. And look at the quality, look how well that straw has survived. And if you look at the picture nearest to me, you can see that the silk that it's on is starting to fail. but look how well that straw has been preserved. And then we start to see it being used in fashion. So this is 1760s. A lot is around France, Italy as well. We're seeing these techniques being used. And you can see now here that this is somebody who, the makers of this, really are master embroiderers as well as stitchers. This silk shading, the flowers you can see. And then, yeah, about 100 years later, it really becomes quite high fashion, and we see it brought around Europe in these incredible ball gowns. So you can really see, hopefully through that, how the techniques and the understanding of straw starts to develop, but it's there are still so many questions to ask about who was using straw and how it was used, especially in the fashion industries. So in 2023, I put together my kind of dream straw training program for myself as a maker, and was lucky enough to be awarded a Quest scholarship, which allowed me to train with Veronica Main, who's one of the leading straw craft experts. Her background is in straw plaiting, but she has an incredible knowledge of different kinds of crafts, and especially about the preparation. And that was something that really touched me very deeply as a maker who was used to ordering something online, and then it would arrive, and then I'd stitch with it. This is a whole different thing. So this would involve ordering a sheaf of wheat. So at the moment, there's one heritage maker who's selling commercially in Burton-on-Trent. And then learning all the methods of preparation, of getting that ready to create different kinds of straw craft with that. And as you can see from this picture here next to me, like feeling of sort of carrying forward a tradition and really understanding deeply how your material works and where it comes from was just so exciting for me. And here, after panel one, I'll be spinning straw threads back through where the tea is served. So do come and have a look. So this was really such a dream to learn this skill and to start to be able to put it back into my work. Learning about the tools as well has been fantastic. So there's incredible range of different kinds of tools that were made across Europe and in this country, especially for working with straw. And one of the challenges that comes with keeping the craft alive at the moment is making those tools, the spinning machines and these splitters, and finding new ways. So do come and have a look and see the tools that I've got with me and the ways that we're working to keep those going. So I've started to bring straw thread into my work. And just like when I was holding it, when I first discovered it, something I loved about it was the way that it moves and the way that it captures the light. It's such a beautiful material to work with, and that deeper connection you feel when you've made those threads yourself is really significant, I think, as a maker. And the way that then people engage with that work feels quite different as well, I think. And a fantastic relationship that I've developed through my Quest scholarship is with the National Swiss Straw Museum in Switzerland, in a small town called Wohlen, which has the most incredible archive, coming a lot from the hat industry. So this doesn't contain an awful lot of embroidery, but we see incredible use of how straw has been used in weaving and in different crafts as well. And it was worked throughout Europe, but in Switzerland especially, by families like this one. So generations of, we think mainly women and children during winter months, farming families around the table, creating incredible crafts. And yeah, as a maker, what really touched me a lot was seeing the incredible use of straw. And it was like having these makers on my shoulder saying, look, this is what straw can do. This is how it can move. This is how you can manipulate it. So then coming back to the UK, I then have spent a lot of time, and I have these samples with me, so come and have a look. I spent a lot of time learning from these archives and these makers who were on my shoulder and working out for myself how to execute these techniques. And then bringing those into my work. And so, yeah, it's an ongoing journey, really, of learning from the past and working out how I want to interpret those for myself. Something I'm really excited about at the moment is that I've started to grow my own straw. This was on Saturday. So we're trying two different heritage wheat called Maris-Widgeon, which is what I'm already using and is grown by Rosemary Salt already. And we're also trying Emma, which is, some of you may know, one of the oldest grains. So that is so exciting. And that's up by me, just 15-minute drive away. So again, to develop that deeper relationship with my materials from the whole process through feels amazing. And yeah, just to sum up, what I really hope people will feel when they interact with my work is the way that Goethe felt in 1786 when he entered a church in Venice and he saw what he thought was gold embroidery. So it could have been embroidery or it could have been straw marquetry, but he encountered this church adorned with what he thought was gold and then realizes that it's straw. And yeah, I really hope that with my work I can continue that conversation, and I think more than ever it feels really pertinent that we are rethinking our materials and looking deeper at how we're using natural resources. Thank you very much.
Hanny, thank you very much indeed. And just to say, after Victoria has presented, there will be an opportunity for questions to be taken by the presenters then. Victoria, we move to Victoria. Victoria Ojoku is a maker, a teacher of fans, is the UK ambassador for fan making and the founder of Fan the Glory with Tori. Victoria works passionately to revive and diversify the concept of the critically endangered craft of fan making. Victoria's interest with fans ignited when she studied theatre, involving props used for stage and screen. She then began collecting fans as souvenirs of places visited. Then in 2017, when the Heritage Crafts published the list of endangered crafts, Victoria recognized the urgency of preserving the fan art form. Taking positive action in 2019, Victoria established a business that travels the UK and abroad, producing handmade fans and fan-related accessories, whilst providing unique, fun, educational and therapeutic workshops to inspire people of all walks of life, abilities, backgrounds, ages, and future generations. Offering both in-person and online fan-making workshops, Victoria caters to individuals and groups, and additionally trading at art fairs, craft markets, and through her own online boutique. So, please would you welcome Victoria Ojoku.
Thank you very much indeed. It's an honor to be here. I would like to take this time to just thank the modern makers, Antiquaries, and also the Heritage Craft Association for all your support. Yeah, I just thank you for having a voice. This is an incredible moment. Not only is it the first of its kind of this type of event, but the fact that it's held in October, where I'm sure you know, in the UK, we acknowledge Black History Month. So this is super empowering for me on a personal note, as well as an artist. So yes, I am Victoria Ajoku, the proud but humble founder of the small business Fan the Glory with Tory, with the slogan, "Together we are indeed fanning the way to freedom." So my talk is looking at conservation for the purposes of today. I am an inspiring conservator in fan making. That's sort of the next level I'm looking to go towards. But I am a fan maker, but technically, I am a fan assembler. So if you bring all the materials to me, I can make a fan out of the materials and equipment that I'm given. So technically, I'm a fan assembler. That's my strongest point. This talk is also about calling. As Graham rightly said, I felt a strong vocation calling in 2019 to start something, and you're going to learn more about what that is. So, a bit more about me. I was born in London, England. So it's just, yeah, amazing. There's still parts of London that I haven't been to, and this building is one of them. So it's an honor to be speaking today. My theatre, as Graham mentioned, is in theatre. So I have a BTEC National Diploma in Musical Theatre, a BA Honours in Drama, Theatre and Performance Studies, and a Master's in Performance and Creative Research. Sort of about when I first started university, I began to travel Europe, and I just naturally began to collect fans as souvenirs, and you will see one later on in the slides. And it was just something that I felt I had to do. It wasn't for any particular project, but I always felt that my trip would be incomplete if I didn't come away with a fan of that area or of that place. So I've been to Spain, France, Malta, Italy, and it's all incredible. And I love Malta. If anyone's into cork, Malta have incredible cork fans. Heritage Craft Association. So when I finished my master's, about a year after that, I came to learn through the Heritage Crafts about the critically endangered list. Fan making is still in the red zone. And I felt a strong calling to start something. And I didn't know quite what that would look like, but I knew it would involve talks, demonstrations, dancing, as well as the workshops. So that's Fan the Glory with Tory, 6 years now, and it's just been amazing. I've been on the Alan Titchmarsh show, Steph's Pat Lunch, and also recognised on places like Forbes magazine and the Telegraph. They've really taken to the Heritage Craft endangered list. So again, thankful to the Heritage Craft for that. Award-winning small business now, and we will talk more about that a bit later. This picture was actually taken in my local church. A huge shout out to St. Alfred's Church in Greenwich, where I was learning. This was during the pandemic, and I was still, sharpening up my skills. So I'm thankful to my local community. There's a quote from the book by Lewis Hyde called, oh, I'm not mic'd. Okay, I'm back again. And basically, it's saying that a gift cannot be given away, then it ceases to be a gift. The spirit of a gift is kept alive by its constant donation. So unfortunately, I think with many of the crafts on the endangered list, it's been not handed down for some reason, or there's many different reasons. But if we look at all those wonderful crafts on that list, all as different gifts, unless it's transferred, educated in terms of passed on, and the skills are handed down, then it's no longer a proper gift. And I feel like with fan making, what I've enabled it to do is to have that fluctuation by going into different communities, keeping that gift alive. So I just love this quote. So preserving fans, conservation. Why do we need to preserve fans? Well, obviously fans are a cooling device, but many fans, 16th, 17th, 18th, early 19th century, particularly the painted ones, are antique objects because they inform us about history. So we need to preserve our history. By preserving our history, we're preserving our identity, I'm sure you would agree, and our traditions, okay? So it's very important that we preserve our fans in the UK. Also, if we don't preserve them correctly, obviously they can fall apart. And we want the future generations, I'm sure we can all agree, to enjoy the collections that we have. And there are so many private collectors in the UK. I am fascinated. I never knew, but I'm starting to know who they are, and they've got amazing collections. So now it's time to be educated in how do we preserve our fans. A bit of terminology, because not everybody knows this. I can't assume everybody knows this. So in the fan world, we like to call the frame or the sticks or the skeleton of the fan. And it's really important as a fan maker and as a conservator of fans that you are familiar with all the different parts because they play different roles. And sometimes with a fan, I've got my massive one, just so you can see. But if I turn it round to the obverse, you can see, I just turn this all the way around. Okay. So you can see here that there are the sticks that go up. But sometimes where the ribs are, where the leaf is supporting the folding fan, it might be a different material. So from the gorge element, the gorge section going up, so from here, this is the ribs, it might be a different material than from the leaf gorge section going down to the pivot or rivet. So if you're a conservator, you really need to know your materials, because if you're trying to preserve one element of the fan that's of one material, you don't want to interfere with another element of the fan. But sometimes, so if the fan, this is actually a type of wood, varnished, but sometimes all of the skeleton, all of the frame is made from the same material, but not on all fans. So you really have to be familiar with that and just bear that in mind, and everything you use must be reversible. So I'm going to talk you through 3 main ways in how we preserve fans. The first is in fan handling, learning and coming to the knowledge of the right and correct ways to handle your fan or other fans that you come into contact with. So when a fan is open, by the way, most of the fans that you will see in the PowerPoint are fans that I've made. So just to point that out, I'm really proud of them. But when a fan is left open, it actually becomes really weak if it's left open for too long period of a time. So it's most likely that it will be stronger when it's closed, okay? Also, if we do this constant flexing, opening and closing of the fan, what's happening? It's weakening. This section where you see my logo is the leaf. So it's weakening the fan, and particularly it's weakening all the folds, the pleats, because of this constant motion. Yes, it's designed to be a folding fan, but too much of that is not really good for the fan over a long period of time because it damages the leaf. So that's quite an interesting, quite contradictory, but it's quite true. Also, dropping the fan, you have to be very careful that you're holding it with the right tension, because if you constantly drop your fan, again, it damages the leaf. And also, if I close the fan, the first stick, both on the obverse and reverse, which is often more stouter, is called the guard stick because it guards the fan, the leaf. But if you keep dropping your fan, you're at risk of breaking the guard stick or any of the other inner sticks. So holding it with the right tension, not too tight, but with the right amount of tension. Theatrical flourishes, okay, which you're going to see me do with the fan dancing, but you need to know the type of fan. If it's an antique fan, so 16th, 17th, 18th, early 19th century type of fan that's painted, made from chicken skin, don't do your flourishes with that. That's not designed, sorry, it's not designed for that purpose. All fans have a purpose. This fan, although I'll be doing Spanish dance, this is a Tai Chi fan. It's designed for the flourishes, for your opening and closing, okay? So you need to be aware, if you want to do fan dancing, there are different types of fans designed to handle that, okay? So that's something to bear in mind. How do we open the fan? So opening the fan, we don't open it like this, both ways. It's actually from one direction. So from left to right, like this. And it's the same with closing. One fold at a time. It's not at the same time. That damages the fan over time. Boxed fans are really good. If you can box your fan with acid-free paper, an acid-free box, that is really, really good. And you take the fan out of the box, not from the guard stick, because you're weakening, not from the top leaf, but from the bottom end section out of your box. So handling fans, we need to know. Also displaying fans. As I said, if it's open for too long, it's not good for the fan. But also if your fan is a painted fan, then just bear in mind in terms of the light levels and your humidity levels as well. People like to keep their fans in a glass cabinet or a fan-shaped box frame, but make sure that there's no holes or gaps in the box because pests and insects will have a lovely meal. So although when the fan is open on display, there's no flexing of the fan, do avoid having it open for too long. Otherwise the fan becomes set where it's hard to then close it because it's used to being set open. So yes, other things that can disturb fans, organic dirt, mold growth, our natural being, so our blood, our sweat, food stains and things like that. To just have a very good housekeeping and good packaging. Acid-free paper, as I say, acid-free boxes are great, but make sure that the acid-free tissue paper and boxes are checked at least once a year because they can go out of date in some respects. So I love the Victorian Albert Museum. Not only is it my initials, Victoria Ajoku, I love buying things from there, but they are really great in terms of what they are revealing and getting people involved and understanding about conserving fans. And this is very, very rare. So if you do have time, do go on their YouTube channel. There's a lovely lady called Susan Catcher, and she actually takes you through the step-by-step processes of how to preserve fans. Fan making workshop experiences led by myself, covers people of all ages, backgrounds, abilities, walks of life. And I think I have done workshops now, I've put here hundreds of people, I think it's now in the thousands, have come to try the craft. I've also taught in Amsterdam and in Spain. It's been incredible. As Graham said, the UK ambassador of fan making. This hasn't been done before. And I also have global recognition from places as far as India, and you can see some of my awards here today. The language of the fan is something that I teach. This is a brilliant student. She really took to this. I like to go by Duvelloir's language of the fan because they are a French fan making company, well established. So many variations of the language of the fan, but I go by Duvelloir. This pose means, I love you. Not to be confused with follow me. Testimonials are incredible. I love reading through them. I think on my website, I have to just get a page of the testimonials. People are talking about now conservation, and because it's not really my expertise strong area yet, it's still really inspiring when people make the fan with me, and then they have all these questions in conservation as a result. And there's loads of recognitions. Again, come to my store to come and see. I have to show you, this is a fan from my collection. So many fan collectors I know do post on Facebook. I don't, I save it for moments like this. This is from Spain. As you can see, it's a ball. This is the Brise fan just off the sticks. And I love it because it's so different and it just encompasses flamenco. Another quote by Lewis Hyde. Basically, the gift needs to move in a circle. If it's just between you and I, if we both have fan-making organizations and we keep it like this, that's a line, isn't it? That's not a circle. It needs to go around. It needs to fluctuate. I love that quote. Summary, preserving fans. We need to know about fan handling, fan displaying, and fan storage. That's me. Ole!
I'm sorry to have to stop you. Time is against us. But
I've come to the end.
well, what time? Hanny, could you come up and join us as well? Oh, Victoria, do. Now we have time. Don't forget there is a round table later on this afternoon where all our makers are going to be there, and you can ask more questions of the makers at their various stations throughout the building. But we have time for 2 questions, one for each of our makers. So can I start with Hanny? Can I have 1 question for Hanny, please? Yes. Microphone is just approaching.
Thank you.
And your
Hello.
your name, please.
Larissa, and with a background in the past in textile conservation, I was really fascinated by the straw on the silk, and I assumed it's laid on. I couldn't see how it could be embroidered through something like silk, which it might tear, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, a lot of straw techniques are couched onto the surface. Yeah, it's just much more practical. So it's usually laying on the surface and with a fine thread attaching it down. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That seems very short, but there will be lots more chances for dialogue later on. And can I have a question for Victoria, please? Because we are now your greatest fans. We probably get that all the time. Just coming.
Thank you, Victoria. That was so inspirational. I feel quite emotional about this. Do you think there's been a resurgence of interest in fans through historical costume drama, series like Bridgerton, the Jane Austen series?
Yes, I think it's sparked an interest, absolutely, because people love it. It just completes the period drama. The fan, it speaks to so many things. It talks about the women in that time, men, fashion, the history of what was happening in that time. So I think people now are looking and researching, and then through things like Bridgerton, they're coming to have an interest in fans. So it's one of those things. I hope I've answered the question.
Okay, thank you both. That's been a wonderful start to the morning, so that's great. Thank you very much. So, over to Anouska.
Thank you so much, everyone, and especially thank you to Freddie, Hanny, and Victoria for such a wonderful start and getting us thinking about why we're all here and what we're going to learn. So at this point, I'm afraid that because it is so practical, this next bit, we're not able to broadcast and record online. So at this point, we're going to have a pause for the online version. So please go go and look up our artists, and we'll try to post some pictures of what is happening here. For the in-person people, we have an hour and a half where you'll be able to wander around the building, the ground floor and up to the library, as I say, and then we'll have a lunch break. And then for the afternoon, we'll resume back here at 2 p.m. for more of the presentations. So you will have lots of opportunities for speaking to the artists directly. So there will be lots of time for more informal questions and answers. The other thing I would say is that, so we've got a roundtable at the end of the day, which is going to be just in person as well. And the purpose of that roundtable is to think about what is the future of all of these crafts that we are learning about today? What is the relationship between research, antiquarian research, and museum and conservation practices, and crafts and art? And how can we facilitate collaboration and conversations between all those different areas, which as an interdisciplinary society, we should be really set up very well to do. And then what specifically can the society be doing beyond our Makers and Artists and Residents programme? What can we be doing to support this work and support the future of these crafts and these practices? So have those questions in mind as you're going around, because at the end of the day in the roundtable, we'll be able to have a bit of a conversation about where we might go next and what we have learnt from today. So thank you so much to everyone who's been joining us online. We will, as I say, have a pause for the moment and we'll be back online at 2 p.m. And for everyone else, I hope you enjoy exploring our building and all of the crafts and makers who are here today. Thank you very much.